capitalism kills. Half of America makes less than 35K. Stop asking us why we're not having children. Stop asking us why we're not buying homes. Stop asking us why we can't save. Stop asking us why we don't get a better job. Ask corporations why they're paying their employees low wages. Not sure how I'm supposed to afford anything at all when rent is $1,200 a month for a 1BR, 1BA apartment before utilities and car insurance and car payment and health insurance and food, and you get the idea exactly. My father is a boomer and was appalled to learn that I'm 32 and have very, very little savings. So extremely out of touch and delusional. $1,200 for rent is low compared to many places. 1200 is insanely cheap for where I live. I pay $1,600 in one of the worst areas of the city and can't move because the rent everywhere else is $1,900 plus. I also have to live with 3 other people to pay for rent. It's insane. My partner and I make good money on paper, but with rent being what it is, car payments. Both drove economy cars, student loans, and groceries, getting way more expensive. How are we supposed to save for a home when they are climbing in price faster than I can save? The aristocracy in this country want everyone to be a renter and in debt servitude. Things will only change when wealth is forcibly taken from the wealthy. The best part is when people say, just move, when you tell them that fun little fact about your rent. How am I supposed to move without money? How am I supposed to keep working my job if I move as the rent vs gas is almost a 1-to-1 trend, except there's also commute time to consider. My rent is $1,400 and my commute is 15-20 minutes. If I wanted my rent to be $1,000, my commute time would be measured in hours and I'd be spending hundreds more on gas. Get a new job closer to your new place. Does so then, some other schmuck is stuck working the job that doesn't pay enough to be able to afford a place to live near work. According to the USA SSA wage statistics, as for 2020, the most recent data available right now, the total income earners is 167.6 million. Number of people who made under 35K USD a year, 84.5 million. That equates out very close to half. Interestingly enough, the amount of people who made under 20K USD that year was 55.8 million. This calculates out to around 33% of the population making under 20K in the year, so half of income earning Americans make under 35K USD while roughly a third make under 20K USD Very depressing. Bootlickers will say in one breath, those statistics count teenagers, so they don't matter, and in the next breath, I worked 3 summer jobs during after high school and bought my house, so why don't you? They pay low wages because they can. I am hopeful this movement takes root and workers unite and demand change. When good workers are living near the poverty line and failing CEOs/VP are making millions, the system is broke. I am the last year of the boomers 1964 and ashamed of what my generation has created in greed and conning workers to believe they should be fortunate for any paycheck. Bottom line, workers deserve fair pay, paid sick leave, paid vacation, quality health care, and a path that leads to a comfortable retirement. I wish you all well. We should be measuring government performance of the economy in wage distribution, and not employment in stocks. It's how the C-suite makes money nowadays. Their income was never tied to production and revenue, but profit margins. Cutting expenses, wages, is one way to fatten the margin. Cutting pensions, cutting benefits. People making tens of millions of dollars off of the blood and sweat and suffering of workers. It's downright Machiavellian. The fact that most of the biggest employers in America, millions of employees living on welfare, should be a wake-up call for some people. Walmart, Amazon, McDonald's. Companies that make billions are basically offloading their labor costs onto the American taxpayers. Interviewed yesterday for an entry-level position with a public county, and everything sounds great about the job, and there's lots of opportunity for growth, but the starting pay is $30K annually. After taxes, housing, and living costs, I'm not sure if that'd even cover everything. Wow, I feel that. A few weeks ago, I interviewed for an attendance secretary position at a school. I had put $44,000 as a desired income on my application because I thought it seemed reasonable for a full-time position. When the people interviewing saw that, they apologized and said the pay would be less than half of that. They expect someone to work full-time at a school and make less than $22,000 a year. I mean, yeah, sure, it's an entry-level position, but I thought I should at least be able to live comfortably working for the school district. Oops. But questioning/blaming victims is easier. requiring no critical thinking skills and having no consequences whatsoever. Also, corporations own the news. It's pretty much just Bezos, Murdoch, Disney, Comcast. All of them are disincentivized from bringing up meaningful discussion about non-livable living wages. Society is really good at blaming victims. See just world fallacy for details. Helping people requires change. People loathe change because most are absolutely terrified of anything different that might disturb their comfort. Propagandists hijack these two characteristics for their own betterment at the expense of all the rubes who buy into it wholesale. Then when people work 40 to 60 hours per week, they have zero time and mental bandwidth left to learn, to educate themselves, to read a book, to advocate, to even look after themselves in any meaningful way, all the while being bombarded by a media that puts their problems and the problems of the world as personal moral failings. You're fat because it is all your fault. Climate change can be fixed if we all stop eating meat and being wasteful, evil people, etc. So people are ground down further, eating away at their mental health and sucking away their self-esteem. Some will engage in a lot of cognitive trickery in order to justify their treatment. The people who have it good, middle-class workers, have been taught to sneer at the lower classes, to see them as the enemies of society, that suck all the tax resources, that they are lazy whilst they work hard. Again, the propagandists utilize this aspect of humanity to further entrench our exploitation. There are consequences, which is why they tell Forbes and Business Insider to back their outrage. The overlords' profits are stagnating because we can't afford to invest in their game any more than we need to. They're upset because we're literally too poor to take further advantage of. Let that sink in. Ask corporations why they're paying employees low wages because they can, and they will until we make them change or take it away. Add, short of that, unionize. We rant about boomers' ignorance, or rather forgetfulness. The reason our boomer grandparents could afford a house, a car, and decent work hours on a single income from a factory job is that they fought hard for unions, joined them, and went on strikes when needed. In many of those strikes, they faced National Guard troops and zealous police forces. They were not given much, and we won't either. If you have a question about unionization, stop or call a local union office and ask them how to start. Don't just work union, shop union. Hire union and support union. My gross income is over $40K. I net $31K after taxes. Lol. Edit. So many replies. I'm not making this up, but it's true that I included Social Security and Medicare in deductions. Those are ultimately a small percentage of what is deducted from my wages. But this comment isn't supposed to say taxes bad. I'm just saying that even people making above the median are still getting on. Whether we make $7/HR, $15/HR, or $25/HR, we're not earning a livable wage. I am 35 years old, have a degree, and have never made more than $25K a year. I worked in restaurants for 15 years because it was the best money I could make per hour. I physically cannot do that work anymore, and am having such a hard time trying to find a job with a decent wage. Edit. While this subreddit is supposed to be where workers come together in solidarity to try and help each other, and instead I get mocked and given stupid advice that does nothing to help me. You people really suck. Edit 2. Trolls can shove it and go back to their caves. Thank you to all the others that have replied with helpful information and solidarity.